literally, like, we talking about faith right now, okay? Because listen, faith will have you out here looking crazy.
Hi you guys, welcome back to my channel. This is Relation Talks. Today I'm doing a word that God basically had me reading. I think it's from Samuel to Kings. Yeah. So I've been reading like First Samuel um to where Eli took in Samuel, Hannah's son, to all the way up to the first king being anointed for Israel, which was Saul. That's how I came about this word. And then what hit me was God was talking about is so many revelations for a lot of us that's in our promised land. And it's so easy for us to fall in disobedience. So I named this word the thick of it. I believe God gave me that because Saul was in his prime of becoming king. So it was like he had so many great experiences with the Lord. And then eagle time started getting, just a little bit harder. And when the devil see you arising in your prime and things are going good, listen, he will do anything to sabotage that oath you made with God, anything to just cause disobedience in your life, which causes chaos, which causes us to be removed out of our place. And this word is just amazing. Stay tuned with me, you guys. All right, so the title is called The Thick of It. We're starting from 1 Samuel 13. Saul was seeing failure, lack of success. For the first time, things were not going as planned. He saw his own people running and hiding. Saul saw the numbers of his enemy. 1 Samuel 13, verse 6 says, when the Israelites saw that their situation was critical and that their army was hard pressed, they hid in caves and thickets among the rocks and in its censers. Verse 7, some Hebrews even crossed the Jordan to the land of Gad in Galilee. When it got thick, when it got late, when the devil pushed so hard, Saul panicked out of fear. He did a burnt offering and a fellowship offering, which was not his position. It was Samuel. To remind you, Samuel came at the appointed time, or should I say, the day. Just not the time that Saul expected. We should be careful to not make this mistake. Samuel came after Saul had made the mistake. This is how consistent God is when he does stuff for us. Like if a parent will spoil a child and give the child everything he wants, and then there's a time of maturity in the child life where the parents say, okay, I'm not doing this anymore. And then how the effect of continuing to do something all the time, all the time, all the time, they expect it to be done. So now there's some confusion in when it's not done, to where the maturity has to come in. So God was giving all these blessings to Saul. They was winning victory after victory with the Philistines. And the one time, it was something different in this fight. Saul panicked. He got emotional. He saw the people running. He felt pressed. Listen to where I'm going with this, you guys. So to remind you, Samuel came at the appointed time, or should I say the day, just not the time Saul expected. We should be careful to not make the same mistake. Samuel came after Saul made the mistake. Hear the response that Saul made as Samuel greeted him after doing wrong. And that part is going to come from 1 Samuel 13:11. What have you done? Asked Samuel. Saul replied, when I saw that the men were scattering and that you did not come at the set time, and the Philistines were assembling at Michmash, I might be saying that wrong, y'all. Whatever, just read it. Verse 12 says, I thought now the Philistines will come down against me at Gilgal, and I have not sought the Lord's favor, so I felt compelled to offer the burnt offering. Here's the 3 keys you need to look at in your problem. Oh, Jesus, this hits me every time. I just keep repeating this message because it's so true. These are keys. I saw, right? I thought, and I was compelled. We know that compelled is like a force, something that makes you do it. How many situations, for example, y'all, this happened to me at my job, at one of my jobs I used to work at. People was doing so much stuff at my job, just making it seem like, just smearing my name, just, making me feel like I'm this bad person, someone who I was cool with. And I remember the Lord telling me, just stay quiet. Don't feed into it. You're not gonna get fired. But the minute that you disobey me, the minute that you try to save yourself, it was looking like they was believing this person. It was looking like I was about to get fired. I wound up opening up my mouth and I got emotional, and it got me in trouble. And had them looking like they were right. Now Saul's in this decision where he's like, man, everybody's running. I had a lot of people on my team, but now everybody's running. They hiding in caves. This might be one of them battles. Samuel didn't show up. Man, like, what am I going to do? He normally does the offering. I'm going to have to do the offering this time. He's not consulting God. Like, where is Samuel? Before I make this decision, he took upon himself to make a decision out of fear and out of what the devil had showed him what it looks like. All right, now we're going to continue on. Those are 3 things. Remember, it's not about what you see, it's not about what you think, and it's not about how it looks. Don't you try to go against anything to make yourself seem like a hero. The key this season for y'all, listen to me closely. Be unbothered. Find your comfortability place to where you can ignore the devil, whether it's in worship, which is the best, I would say, because worship confuses the devil. He like, what's she happy for? What's she worshiping for? What's she saying thank you to God for? What's she praying to him for? You're confusing him because he wants you to have anxiety. The devil smells fear. He smells anxiety. The minute you give him a little pasture of with that, the door is open for him to try to be successful in what he's trying to give you smoke screens about, okay? So number 1, when God gives you a word or a date, don't watch what it seems like. Be unbothered. 2, don't think about what might happen due to the panic of things falling by the wayside. 3, don't try to play God. Don't be a hero. Don't feel forced or obligated to do something. Have patience. Saul's disobedience caused them not to have protection throughout the reign of Saul on the throne. Remind you, the Hebrews, they were basically going from land to land until they can get to a certain position. But they were taking over some lands, which this was the mission of God, and they basically wanted a king. Okay, so they prayed to God for a king, they gave him the king. Saul's issue was that when something didn't look right, he just had it on his own. God has grace, because as we will go forward, between 13 and 14, Saul was disobedient, God still gave him grace. God did not take the throne right away from him because God was also giving him time for repentance in his heart. But as you can see, he was worried this time, okay? So you might be worried, okay? God will still show up for you. He'll help you. That's God giving you a sign that I'm here. I'm here. God is so gracious enough to, when we're disobedient, he'll still show a sign of grace. Here's the second part. we all know the Hebrews then didn't have weapons, okay? Everyone was scared of them and they did not want them overtaking the throne. So it was made through the town. Hey, don't forge them no weapons. Don't give them nothing. The only two people that had weapons was the father and the son. So Saul and Jonathan. Okay, look how God shows us our hearts. He mirror backs our relationship with God. God used Jonathan, okay, to show the relationship between um, God and Saul, and then Saul and Jonathan, okay? So one day, Jonathan decides to take off to go over to the Philistines' outpost. He did not tell his father. This caused the boomerang, okay? I need y'all to see. He did not sought God, neither did Jonathan sought his father, okay? To go check on the Philistines, okay? Now, we talk about why was his throne not successful? That starts in 15, but we are recovering right now what's going on of the boomerang of the effect of being disobedient. So not only did they not have weapons, but only the son and the father did, right? Everybody else was just leading the way. They were just going to take whatever weapons from winning the war. So listen, God was really protecting them. Understand that. He was definitely protecting them. The problem was when Jonathan had left, Saul told everyone not to eat. They were supposed to fast that day. But Jonathan was not there to hear that. He wound up eating honey after um Saul had made this oath with them. Okay, so amazingly how God showed up in our own hearts was he used Jonathan to basically show example to Saul. This is why you have to be obedient. This is why you have to consult God before you go and do anything. Listen to that. Whatever relationships you are having with other people, and the common factor keeps coming up, as in you need to listen more, or you need to be more, how you say it, you need to have more of a view in this area, or your lack of communication is not good. Just think about your relationship with Christ, okay? That's for somebody. Okay, amazing how God shows up in our lives, in our own heart, due to teaching us right or wrong. But this fight was still saved. I mean, yeah, but his fight was still saved by God, but God still had to test Saul's heart. So you see how, okay, Jonathan ate the honey, but he had victory in going to the outpost of being able to take on 20 something men with his arm barrier, right? So it says in 1 Samuel 14:28, it says, then one of the soldiers told Jonathan, your father bound the army under a strict oath, saying, cursed be anyone who eats the food today. This is why the men are so faint. You know, in the word of God, Jonathan winds up saying that his father is wrong. Let me see if I can find it real quick, y'all. This is how I say kids are just like the look of their parents, okay? I'm trying to tell you. I think it's in a little bit of 14. Hold on, y'all. All right, so I'm going to just go to 1 Samuel 14:24. And it says, but then the men of Israel was hard pressed on that day, for Saul had put people under this oath. Cursed is the man who eats any food before evening, and until I have taken revengeance on my enemy. So none of the people ate food. And all the people came into the forest, and there was honey on the ground. So not only were they tested by him making the oath, God had food for them in the forest that was going to give them energy. How do we know this? Because when Jonathan went off without his father, without consulting him first, John wound up eating, I keep calling him John, but Jonathan, y'all know what I'm saying. He wound up eating the honey, and it gave him strength to fight the Philistines that was out on the outpost, right? So when the people came into the forest, they saw the honey dripping, but no one can put his hand to his mouth because the fear of that oath. But Jonathan had not heard his father and put under the oath, so he stretched out the tip of his staff that was in his hand, dipped it into the honeycomb, and when he drew his hand back to his mouth, his eyes were brightened. So the honey gave him energy. At this one of the people said, "Your father put people under a strict oath, saying, 'Cursed is the man who eats the food today.' That is why the people are tired." However, Jonathan said, now this is Jonathan speaking over his father, "My father has brought great trouble on this land. Look at how my eyes have brightened because I have tasted a little bit of this honey. How much better if the people had eaten freely the day from the spoils of their enemies that they found, for they had slaughtered the Philistines, would have been even greater. On that day they kept striking down the Philistines on Makesh, and the people became very tired. So the people began rushing greedily at the spoils, and they took sheep and cattle and calf and slaughtered them on the ground, and they ate the meat along with the blood. And it was reported to Saul, "Look, the people are sinning against Jehovah by eating the meat with blood." At this he said, "You have acted faithlessly." Rolled the large stone on, and then he immediately started to cook. You know, in the word, it says that day they lost faith. Now, you know when you lose faith, now, that's crazy, okay? But remember, in his heart, Saul was disobedient to God in the area to where he was scared. You know, he just basically didn't sought God. You know, in the beginning when they start talking about it, it says that he didn't seek the Lord's favor. He just did the offering out of panic. I thought that was like a key verse too, that he didn't consult God's favor. This is not the first time that he didn't do that. When you go deeper down into chapter 14, I just want to finish reading what I wrote, you guys, and then we can go back into certain key points. It says, when Saul had surely made that saying, "Surely the one who sinned will die," the moment he found out his son was the one, after making that oath, God spoke through the men. 1 Samuel 14:45, the men said to Saul, "Should Jonathan die? He has brought about this great deliverance in Israel." Jonathan did that with God's help. So basically, they were showing, yeah, he disobeyed you by walking away, but God allowed him to eat the honey, and it made him stronger to fight. So God did this with help, okay? And it says, he brought about this great deliverance in Israel. Jonathan did that with God's help, and God was being acknowledged by the people. Okay, verse 52 and 14 says, "All day of Saul there was a bitter war with the Philistines. Whenever Saul saw a mighty, brave man, he took them into his services." So God was already setting up a plan, because he knew right then and there that Saul's heart, it wasn't going in the right direction. He gave him grace the first time when he was disobedient. And then you have your son go off. You said, "Cursed is the person who eats," right? Your son eats. God saves him through the people. That's even more grace. So God gave him more grace. And then when you go into 15, here goes Samuel coming back to him again, telling him, "Hey, I need you to be obedient and listen this time." And Saul's mind is on, will God establish my throne again? And this time it says, let me take it a step back further. When you go back into 14, actually, when he went to go find out why God didn't answer him, should he go back up and fight the Philistines, The priest had to tell him to inquire in God again. That's what it was. Okay, we're going to go back. Jonathan eats the honey. He comes back into the camp. He tells them the great victory. One of the soldiers remind him, hey, you ate that honey. We're all going to be cursed because your father told us to fast today and not to eat anything today due to the battle. And he like, man, well, my father so basically done cursed us all, okay? Now you talking about his father just ruined us, okay? Because now I done ate the honey. It's like we walked in the forest, there's honey here, you going to tell us to fast? It just wasn't making sense. Saul was not seeing correctly because he was disobedient. His thoughts was never to consult the Lord in whatever situation he was in. There was too many people reminding him of God. Of God. God did this. Not you, Saul. God did this. They was reminding him, hey, consult God. So in one of them points, when the priest told him to consult God about why God was not answering him, it caused him to seek more into it. Once he seeked more into it and they threw the lots, it wasn't the army, it was between Saul and his father. That is God mirroring it, the image. The problem wasn't because God had helped Jonathan, right? But God was saying it's between father and son right now. He's telling Saul, it's between me and you right now. Your son is an example of why I did not answer you to go up with the Philistines. That's why ever since after that day, war was bitter for him. When you go into 15 was when his kingdom was established to be torn. It was torn because he was disobedient again. This was the last straw for God. I told you to kill everything. I sent a clear message to kill everything. His emotions and his greed got in the way. He said he saved the cattle to sacrifice to God, and he saved the king because he helped out. Let's get this part. I want y'all to get that understanding in that, and then I'm gonna close out. Okay. 1 Samuel 15:28, and it says, at this Samuel said to him, Jehovah was ripped away, the royal rule of Israel from today, and he was given it to the one, your fellow man, who is better than you. Moreover, excellent of Israel will not be proved false or changed his mind, for he is not a mere man that should change his mind. At this he said, I have sinned, but honor me, please, in front of the elders of the people and in front of Israel. Return to me, and I will bow down to Jehovah your God. So Samuel returned behind Saul, and Saul bowed down to Jehovah. And Samuel said, bring Agag, the king, Elimelech, near to me. And then Agag went to the reluctantly, for Agag and had been saying to himself, surely the threats of death in the past. However, Samuel said, just as your sword has bereaved women of children, so your mother will be bereaved among women. With that, Samuel hacked Agag to pieces before Jehovah at Gilgal. Now, I wanted you to understand exactly at the end of what he said. You saved someone who killed children, who took children from their mothers, killed the mothers. Basically, he left no one alive. That man was wicked. And God told him to kill everything, because when you meet a wicked man, you got to kill the cattle, everything is affected by that wickedness. But I want to bring you to 15, where Saul, when Samuel asked him, why do he hear the cattling sound, why does he hear this noise coming? Whew. Okay, when Samuel finally came to him, Saul said to him, may Jehovah bless you. I have carried out the word of Jehovah. Now, this is where he lied at, because he didn't. Okay? Samuel clear instructions to Saul was to, this is what Jehovah of armies say. I will call to the account that Elimelech's, or the Elimelech's, for what they did to Israel when they opposed them along their way coming up from Egypt. Now go on and strike down the Amaleks. Listen, I don't know how to say their name, and devote them to their destruction, along with all they had. You must not spare them. Okay, you can't spare them. You are to put them to death, man as well, women and child as well as infants, but as well as the sheep, the camel, and the donkeys. Saul summoned people, counted them, and there was 2,000 foot soldiers and 10,000 men of Judah. Saul advanced as far as the city and set an ambush in a valley. Saul said that the Canaanites go depart from among the Amaleks, so that I do not sweep you away. For you showed loyal love to the people of Israel at the time they came up out of Egypt. Now, Samuel just said that he didn't. We don't, at this point, Saul's heart has been taken over by his desires, because Samuel just told him that he did not help the Israelites, but he talking about he helped them when they came out of Egypt, which he did not. So he departed from the midst of the Amalek, and after that Saul struck down the Amaleks from, I think that's Harvalah, as far as Shur, which the next Egypt. He called Agag and the king alive, but all the other people he devoted to destruction with the sword. However, Saul and the people spared Agag and the best of his flock and the herd, and the fattened animals and the ram, and all that was good. That's what he thought was good, y'all. And they did not want to devote them to destruction, but all the goods that were worthless and unwanted, these were devoted to destruction. Then the word of Jehovah came to Samuel. I regret that I have made Saul king, for he has turned away from following me, and he has not carried out my words. Samuel came very upset and kept crying out to Jehovah all night long. When Samuel got up early in the morning to meet Saul, Samuel was told Saul went to Carmel and had he erected a monument of himself. Disobedience will cause a curse upon your life to where you will be full of yourself. Saul was full of himself. He had clear instructions. How did he miss that? By saying, oh, the Lord said he didn't help Israel, so he's saying, I'm going to keep you alive because you had helped us, and I'm going to keep the best of your sheep and fattened because now I'm going to feed my army. This whole time, Saul's heart was turned into a man of his own desire. He built a monument for himself, y'all. Then he turned around and went down to Gilgal. When Samuel finally came to him, Saul said to him, may Jehovah bless you, all happy and ignorant. He was happy and ignorant, y'all. I have carried out the word of Jehovah. And he lied. I done carried out the word of Jehovah. But Samuel said, then what is the sound of flock in my ear and the sounds of cattle that I hear? To this Saul said, they were brought from the Amaleks because the people spared the best of the flock and the herd for sacrificing them to Jehovah your God. But that was left we devoted to destruction. At this Samuel said to Saul, stop. Let me tell you what Jehovah said to me last night. So that he said to him, Samuel continued, where you were insignificant in your own eyes, when you were made head of the tribe of Israel, when Jehovah anointed you as king over Israel, Jehovah later sent you to a mission and said, go and devote the sinful the Amalekites to destruction. Fight against them until you have exterminated them. So why did you not obey the voice of Jehovah? Instead, you rushed greedily towards the spoils and did what was bad in the eyes of Jehovah. Do y'all get what I'm saying today? Sometimes the help of God, which we should be able to receive God's blessing and helping us in a time of our promised land when we are being attacked. But what we don't want is the many times that God has graced us with help, God just wants us to trust him. God will give us grace for that. But the moment that that grace is tested by us continually to think that God is not going to give us a moment to where we have to be in our maturity level to say, you know what, God, I have seen this so many times in my life fail me by trying to be a hero, by, moving too fast before you. And it has done nothing but set me up. Excuse me, y'all. God is saying, where is the faith? So if we want to understand in the thick of it, how Saul was removed was because of his own greed of success. What he thought was right was very disrespectful to what God was asking him to do. God told him in the beginning, when I send you on this mission, understand this man is very wicked. He saved a wicked man, which shows his heart. He was being taught this whole time through his own son of his own disobedience to the Father, and it caused him to lose the throne. That is the word today. If it sounds like I was rambling on to y'all about the story, these are the 3 main keys you need to take today. Don't panic about what it looks like. Okay? Don't think too hard about what it looks like. All the devil needs is to take one strong thought, make it a stronghold to where you have anxiety and fear. Remember, the enemy can smell fear, anxiety, and stress. He will use that to his advantage to even make it look more to where you're not winning, to where it calls you to be compelled, to be forced to be a hero, to force to do God's work that he did not tell you to do. Don't ever be forced to be in a situation that God did not give you the keys for or the victory for or sought you to tell you. This is why in a lot of things with David, he sought God out. Should I go up here? Should I go forth? When you don't consult God, you are very forceful in a panic when the enemy shows up to try to do it on your own. And that caused such a curse over him being disobedient. Hi, you guys. So that brought us to our closing. Remember the 3 keys. If you didn't take anything from today, take that. Being disobedient can lead to a lot of stress, anxiety, and fear, which will have a door open for the devil to be able to leave you in distress, okay? The 3 keys was don't just be unbothered. That's just what the key is. Be unbothered of what it looks like. Be unbothered of the thoughts of you thinking or panicking. This might happen. This might, because that's all he needs is you to have one single thought that he can use. And obviously, obligate you to basically be forceful to try to handle it yourself, kind of in Saul's situation. And God still gave him grace. But if God is giving you this message, it's because he's been saving you in a lot of situations. So this time, let's just be faithful to God and just let's get this A on this report and pass this test, okay? So we can move to the next land and conquer it because he already went ahead for you. Bye.